January of 2017, that dossier was still unverified at that time, so that's 3 months after the initial application. The great thing about the deal that was brokered today between Comey's lawyers and the lawmakers on Capitol Hill is that this transcript is going to be made public, and this will allow individuals to test the statements that they heard today from Director Comey, that he answered the questions, that there was really nothing about Russia, only the emails, and that there was no problem with the FISA or the surveillance warrant process. And it will also allow us to test the statements of Republicans that a government lawyer really ran a lot of interference and shut down critical lines of questioning, Sean.
You know, so much here, though. I mean, if you look, Catherine, remember Christopher Steele in that interrogatory, he wouldn't stand by his own dossier. So if it was as the Nunes and as the Grassley-Graham memos say, the bulk of information in the FISA applications came from that dossier and its own author doesn't stand by it, then one has to question if this email chain does exist, as John Solomon reported this week, that said directly that James Comey's name was on it. Did they verify it, and when? And what did they verify? What part of it was wrong? And if it was the bulk of information, was a fraud committed on the court? Also, one other question. Why didn't they tell the court, the FISA judges, that, in fact, Hillary had bought and paid for that FISA warrant when it was just a mere footnote in the FISA application? So
we're going to get a lot of good stuff, I think, in that transcript. We'll see what questions were avoided and whether there were legitimate reasons. Right? That was the plan, but I think there could be a little bit of foot dragging. There was a Justice Department lawyer in there, a government lawyer, and there may be issues about redactions, and both sides will want to be clear that the transcript is accurate, right, before it goes out. Well, but there's going to be a lot of good stuff. You can test what everybody said today and see if that really was an accurate portrayal of what went down inside that closed-door session.
All right. Thanks for taking us inside. Catherine Herridge in Washington tonight. Thank you. Joining us now with reaction, former Clinton pollster advisor Mark Penn, California Congressman Darrell Issa, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Good to see you all. Congressman Issa, you were in there. Hopefully we'll get the transcript tomorrow. I just went over the problems with these FISA applications. Is it true the bulk of information came from the dossier that Christopher Steele doesn't even stand by?
That's exactly right, that it not only came from the dossier, but as you know, Christopher Steele hasn't been in Russia in 20 years. So even the people, the unknown people responsible for it could easily have, in fact, been agents of the Russian government, which would mean that Hillary Clinton is the one guilty of the so-called collusion.
Well, that's a great irony there. You have been very critical, Mark Penn, of this process from the get-go here, as you should be. I believe if we have a dual justice system, I'm looking at taxi medallions, I'm looking at loan applications, I'm looking at tax violations. I'm not seeing any collusion here at all. This has gone so far. But I do see issues with Russia with Uranium One. And that is that we had a spy within that network. And we did have a lot of money kicked back in the end. Then I do see issues with this dossier because it's full of Russian lies. And the FBI used it as the basis of the FISA applications. And in fact, they never verified it. What James Comey just said is false because we know they didn't verify it because Steele doesn't stand by it.
Well, I typically urge all Americans to read the dossier because anyone who actually reads the dossier understands that it's a joke document. It's a document filled with nonsense that couldn't possibly be true, that almost reads like an April Fool's joke. And now that we've spent, I don't know, $30 million, investigated almost everyone in a campaign in the administration, there's still no evidence of anything that one would call collusion, and certainly not related to the individual case. If anything, we're drifting more and more back to Monica Lewinsky days by talking about payments to Stormy Daniels and trying to take payments that are clearly not, campaign related under the definitions that have been ruled by the FEC, and try to turn those into crimes that you associate the president with. It's that whole creep of the special counsel to get the president all over again.
And Tammy, it seems that Greg Jarrett explained it very well in terms of the law. And I watched the hysteria on TV, and they're saying campaign finance violations. Well, I've got campaign violations from '96 over here, and from 2008 over here, and from Bob Dole over here, and from Al Gore over here, and the biggest fine paid by Obama. My question to you is, as you look at where this has now gone, I mean, I feel bad for the men involved in the things that happened, but I feel that they're victims of what is selective prosecution and a political witch hunt that they got caught up in by no other reason that they like Donald Trump.
Well, look, this is why we're nervous when there's more regulations and more laws, because we pretty much wake up in the morning as Americans and we're breaking some kind of a law, but then it's selective about how it gets applied, but it's always kind of hovering over you. This entire dynamic, ranging from the dossier to what Catherine Herridge described about their writing and the filing that they just did, is fan fiction. And we're talking about criminal justice reform on one hand from the Trump administration, of course, and the American people see this fraud, this hoax being unleashed upon people in Washington, but we experience it also at the local level in our daily lives, whether it's the disenfranchised or people of color. This is a very chilling event. Americans recognize it. They do not like it, and it's up to the president to make sure this dynamic remains clear to the American people about what's happening to them.
He can still release the applications, the Gang of Eight information, the 302s, and the email chain. Do you believe, last question, Darrell Issa, we just had comments from James Comey. Do you believe what he said about the FISA warrants was accurate, or did he lie?
Well, he's certainly inaccurate. The idea that these things were anything other than falsely granted based on deceiving a federal judge is more laughable than what Mark said about the dossier itself. Ultimately, this dossier is what got them into a business of looking for a crime that didn't happen.
Unbelievable. All right, thank you all. Yeah, appreciate it. When we come back, Congressman Mark Meadows revealed today, well, what did he reveal that should have the Clintons very worried tonight? Doug Schoen, Larry Elder will examine that as this busy news night continues. We're glad you're with us.